got my real estate license, and my wife suggested, I think there's a good Coldwell+Banker office up there in Ronhurst on Castor Ave. So I went up there and met the manager that ran the place named Jim Floor. It was probably the best move I ever made. It started me off real quick and fast. The guy was an excellent teacher, and that was a great move. And I've been with Coldwell+Banker ever since. Really, same company, up until we merged with Hearthside.
Okay. So what made you decide to get into real estate?
Truly, I just wanted to sell something that was going to give me a big commission. And that's
a good reason.
I kind of figured it out. I didn't know nothing about it. I didn't know anybody that sold homes. I know when I was going to school, a lot of people it was early '90s. People were saying, real estate's not real good right now. I don't know why you're going to do that. You're not going to make any money. That's what I was being told. But I just figured I didn't have any money anyway. So let me move forward with that. And it was obviously it was the best thing I ever did. I mean, it's great. Turned out to be a great career. I mean, who would ever? You couldn't even have wrote this story. No one would believe it. It's like almost like a fairy tale.
That's awesome. So tell me what year 1 and year 2 looked like for you in real estate.
Well, year 1, I set some goals. I had to keep reminding myself, Curt, it's going to take a little while. You can't get frustrated because, you go into the office to start working, and you weren't, I was not making the money, and I was, getting aggravated. I could go sell appliances and make at least a few dollars. So I had to keep, keeping focused and saying you got to give it, a good solid year to see what happens. And then all of a sudden, I'd say towards the end of the year, I was doing all the things. I was being mentored and taught by a gentleman, Jim Floor, and Joe Floor's brother, and Joe Floor, and these guys were real estate guys. I mean, these guys were excellent, and I would keep going and meeting with them, a couple times a week, learning. Then I was applying it, but it was, frustrating. You're brand new. I don't know anybody. No one knows me. And then I noticed that 6, 7, 8 months, I started to, knock off a couple sales, and then by the end of the year, I think I had about, 7, 8 sales pending. At the end of my first year, I think I didn't make a lot of money, probably, under 10 grand or something like that. But, I kept a part-time job at night, so I was at least paying my bills. Mm-hmm. And then the second year, 1995, I started, hitting expireds and for sale by owners. I was doing all the basic stuff in the beginning, and it was working. I mean, I was going out and getting listings, and then that second year was like, you would have thought I was doing it for years. I made a decent amount of money. I mean, this was 95. I'm guessing I probably made about 50 grand or something like that, which was awesome, for where I came from and so on. So I was real thrilled about that. And then it just, I just took off like a madman. I mean, everybody was like, get out of my way. I was going to run you right over. And I pretty much did. And in 96, I sold over 100 and some houses and made a lot of money. And I was told to go down to the awards banquet. You might get your name mentioned, and went down to the Philadelphia Board banquet, and then they kept naming number 3, number 2, and I kept saying, I beat these guys. I wonder, well, who, someone didn't see my paperwork or something. I beat these guys. And then number 1, it was Curt Gasper, and the whole place was shocked, and the people with me, my wife, were shocked, and I was shocked, and that was, and so from that moment on, it just, kept going.
That's awesome.
And then, so then I would maintain. The secret was I would maintain, 100+ listings all the time. So most of my career, I had 100+ listings, and that's all I focused on was listings, and it was working.
Now, you mentioned you had goals. Did you have a business plan? Did you write down your goals, or did you just kind of keep everything in your head?
No. I wrote them down. I'd pull out my, I went by a planner. I mean, we didn't really. The computers were just coming around at that time with real estate, so everything was in a planner. Unfortunately, I still kind of, I'm like a dinosaur. I still do the same things, but I'd write everything down. My goal was to have, 2 sales a month, and I jumped it up to 4 sales a month, and then I jumped it up to 4 sales a week, and it just kept growing.
Okay.
But I did all the basics, and I wasn't a scatterbrain. That's what I watched most of the agents do. They were doing everything. I focused on 3 or 4 things and just kept at it, and and everything started coming together.
You mentioned you focused on listings. What did you do in that second or third year to get 100 listings? What is it? Do you remember what it is you were doing?
Well, yeah, sure. It's still the same thing I still do today. Basically, postcards. I spent a lot of money on postage. I just keep sending out postcards. And at the time in the early 90s, there was listings everywhere. So I wasn't sending out just listed. I just kept sending out just sold. I'd get something to your house just listed. Big deal. There's, hundreds of houses listed. That's not big news. So every time I sold something, I'd send it out, and I was sending out to the same 5,000 people every month. Just sold, just sold, just sold, and that truly was the biggest thing that returned my investment, was the sold cards. And then I would find I found a local newspaper in Northeast Philly, and every other week I would put a nice size ad in there every other week. And then as I developed the team, I would add their pictures, and I just kept the ad and the postcards. And then I worked on a sphere of influence, people that I knew, past clients, people that I would meet. I would just focus to them, and that's still what I do. I just go after my sphere of influence, still send out the postcards, and pretty much now, most of my business though now is pretty much referrals.
Right. So how did you pick who to send? Were you just, farming certain areas when you were initially sending out your postcards, or?
Yeah, I would just pick different neighborhoods, but I would stay with them forever. I mean, I'd just keep hitting it, and they thought I was the only person selling real estate, so they would call. And like I said, I used to always carried over 100 listings. It was amazing. I mean, if nothing was selling, the market was slow, but if someone wanted to buy a house, most likely it was one of my listings, so I was always making sales.
Okay, awesome. What does a day in your life look like?
Well, today, I'm not going to tell you about what a day of my life looks like today, because, I only did 160 sales last year or whatever.
That's still pretty good. I think you're okay.
But most of my career, I would leave the house at 8:30, and I wouldn't get home till, if I was lucky, I got home 7, 8 o'clock at night. And I did that for every day for probably a 12-year span. So I'd get up, be the first one in the office, and had my appointment book, followed my appointment book. I would do all my own CMAs for my listings. I didn't have anybody do them, because once I got in the computer and researched my own information, then it was in my head by the time I got to the property, and it worked smooth. So I would go in the office early, do all my paperwork for my appointments, and then usually, unfortunately, listings, you got to go out 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night. If you got an appointment during the daytime, it was great. So then I would do all my work, get ready for my appointments in the late afternoon or early evening, and then go out and get 2, 3, 4 listings every day. That's what I was doing every day. And then every a couple times a week, I'd have the sellers come in if I could, or if I had to go to their home, and I would have them come into the office and sign their agreements when I would get the sale on their property. So it was all just busy. And then the only buyers I really took care of were ones that were either my sellers or someone personally referred somebody to me. I didn't really take buyers off the phone. Occasionally, and then that's how I started getting into a team. I was getting so many listings that the phone was always ringing. There's so many buyers wanted to see the properties, it was impossible for me to get there. So, different people I've had relationships with say, hey, why don't you come work with me? I'll give you all these leads. It won't cost you nothing,
Mm-hmm.
And before you know it, that's how I mean, the company wasn't really that happy about me putting the team together, but I just did it anyway. And I started off with 2 people. Then I had got my wife to quit her job, and she came in to work for me probably about a year and a half into my career. And then I had two buyer agents. Then I got real busy. I hired another assistant. I know we want to talk about assistants, and I hired another assistant. So most of my career, I had 3 full-time assistants just doing paperwork, answering phones.
How did you decide, when you got to that point, what was the, if you remember, what was the turning point where you said, okay, I can't do this by myself anymore?
Well, it was pretty early in my career. I mean, it was quite obvious. I mean, everybody's afraid to take on an expense with a full-time assistant, let alone 2 or 3. So it's pretty scary to do that.
Yeah.
But every time I hired one, I made more money. So then it became pretty easy to figure out. I hired a second one, I made a lot more money. And then it got so crazy, I had to hire a third one, and it just kept going. So the first one kind of did my marketing and my ideas, and of course typed up letters and addendums and so on and so on. The second one answered the phone and did all kinds of other office type work, and the third one actually just did all my conveyancing for me. I mean, I was settling 20, 30 properties a month was just normal.
Yeah.
So I had to have someone doing the conveyancing,
Right.
and just a machine.
Yeah.
And then I was fortunate enough to have good managers. That was big. You have to have a good backup folks there you're working for. Like Jim Mendita was my manager for the most part of that career. He was like having another team member, really. He was always there to help you. And then, of course, the ownership, they were okay. They stepped it up when they had to. So it was just a big machine. We were doing more business. My team was doing more business than most offices in Northeast Philadelphia.
Yeah.
We would just massive. And I had the big thing is I had my picture on all the signs. I know people think that's a little obnoxious or whatever, but I put my picture on my sign. That paid me a lot of money. I mean, everybody always knew if there goes another Curt's listing.
Yep.
There's another Curt's. But that was big too.
No, it's just branding, right?
So yeah, just branding. That's how it developed.
Yep.
And I didn't know, listen, you got to understand something. I didn't know nothing. I drove a truck, okay? 2 years of college, I drove a truck. I didn't know nothing. I had no relatives in real estate, so I learned on the job. It just evolved, but so quick I didn't have time to even think about it.
Yeah.
Just bang, like I was shot out of a cannon.
You mentioned that you were focused, and I think that's something that so many agents are lacking. They're pulled in so many different directions, and they have a hard time really kind of, saying, all right, today I'm going to focus on this, or however. Do you remember how you got that focus?
To be that focused?
Yeah, like how did you realize that early on? Because a lot of people don't get that early on. They don't realize they need that focus.
Well, number one, I run into the old gentleman. He's not old, but the person that trained me, a friend of mine, Jim Floor, and I would run into him every so often. I'd say, "Oh, Jim, man, thank you so much for everything you did for me." And he would always say, a few times he brought it up, he'd say, "Curt, I taught everybody what I taught you." He said, "You just applied it and listened." So, I mean, I'll tell you how I did it, but I watch everybody else. Everybody else just kind of only does what they want to do. They don't do the things they're supposed to do because they don't feel like doing that. Or they come in at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and then they complain. They come in 12 or 1 o'clock, and they complain for 2 hours and go home 3 or 4 o'clock, and they don't understand why they're not making any money. So now for me, I was 38 years old. I wasn't a kid anymore. I had 2 children, had a nice wife. I wanted to make some money. I wanted to move from Northeast Philly. I lived in lower Northeast. I wanted to move to the burbs. So I was just on a mission. So I just went in the office early every day and I applied myself. Now, a lot of things I truly will tell you I did on my own. I did listen to some of those Howard Britton tapes. I don't know if somebody understand it. He told me he just passed away recently, but I used to get Howard Britton tapes, and mainly on marketing and how to handle listings, and that stuff did help too. But the majority of it I just did myself. I just was a marketing maniac. I just kept sending postcards out, and I put that ad in the paper, and then before you know it, I was hanging out with a lot of real estate attorneys, and I started getting a reputation. If something you can't sell something, give Curt Gasper a call. He'll sell it for you.
Right.
And it just kept building and kept building. And I just wanted to I'll be honest with you, I was just motivated by making money.
Yeah.
And I didn't have no money all my life. When I got in real estate, I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. And I could see it was endless. So I just kept working really hard. Now everybody we would all go to settlement at the end of the month. And then from settlement, half the office went over across the street to the local saloon. And I'd go back to the office because I was busy. And that's what they all used to joke about that.
Yep.
We all go hang out at the bar and Curt goes back to the office. So, hard work, it's funny, the luckier you get, the harder you work. So that's pretty much how it was with me.
Absolutely. So what about systems? I know you have an assistant, you've got your team in place. What other kind of systems do you use? It sounds like you do a lot of snail mail still.
Yeah, I mean, I would bring anybody into my office and show everybody whatever I was doing. I'll share anything. I never cared my whole career. If you want to do what I do, you want to steal my ideas, if it works for you, hey, good for you. But the real issue is no one really wants to do any of this stuff. But what I did do, it wasn't that difficult. Now, I probably could have done it better ways, maybe just hiring someone like an outside firm to send out my postcards. But I always had somebody sitting in my office, sending out 5,000 postcards every month, if not more. Sometimes a little less, sometimes a lot more.
Right.
So it's just the base, just sending out postcards. When I hear the electronics still is the thing, but when someone gets a postcard in their hand, they look at it before they throw it in the trash, and every so often someone puts it aside. Right. So next month we'll say, geez, here's this guy selling on. So postcards are big.
Yeah.
And if you send them out, you're going to get them. Now I tell the new guys that I watch them. They come in at 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and hang out for a while, and then you don't see them for a day or two. And I'm saying, listen, it's not going to come in here unless you're doing something, and you have to do it. So postcards, when I first started, I would always come in the office, and I'd say, all right, I got to make 4, 5, 6 calls. I don't care who I called or whatever. Looked up back then. You could look up expired phone numbers, or I'd call an attorney. So I always made my 5 or 6 calls every morning. Did my marketing, and then it got so busy that I didn't have to do all that little stuff, and I didn't have to deal with the first-time home buyers or people you were getting off the leads off the phone. When you could start, people seeking you out, then you get to pick out the cream of the crop. So I was always making money, and that's, I wasn't really spinning my wheels. Not that I didn't spin a lot of wheels. Don't misunderstand.
Speaking of that, all right. So what has been your biggest mistake in real estate, and what do you think you've learned from it?
Well, my biggest mistake is going to be different than what you want to hear, but my biggest mistake was I didn't buy more investment properties. So
okay.
That's the only thing I can complain about. This, what we want to tell people if they're listening, especially if you're new, if you buy investment properties, you don't have to kill yourself when you get older. So keep that in mind. I do have, decent amount of investments. I should have bought more. But as far as besides that, that's the only thing I regret. Sometimes I think maybe I should have went in a higher priced market. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I did was, when I first started, 50 to 80 was a normal sale price, believe it or not. That sounds crazy. So
yeah.
Think of all that work for $50,000 to $60,000, and you're doing more work on that sale than you are on a 300, 250s, different clients, easier, better qualified, so on.
Yeah.
So that might have been the only thing, but I'll be honest with you, I probably wouldn't change anything because who knows how it turned out. But
right.
It's hard to complain with my success in my resume. Top agent year and a half after getting into business. I made the top 100 realtor list in the country. That's RE/MAX, Central 21, everybody. I made that list. I got 3 beautiful plaques here 3 times. I don't even take the awards anymore. I gave up taking the awards because it's just not fair. I got boxes of them. Top 10 with Coldwell+Banker International for 15 years. So I got off track. I forget what the hell I was talking about. But anyway.
We were just talking about is there anything you would do differently? But it doesn't really sound like that's the case.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. It's just I think anybody can get into real estate and do it. I do think if you have a loud, obnoxious, outgoing personality, it might be beneficial. But I've seen some pretty quiet people do very well. But you got to be a people person. You have to have thick skin, and you got to plan on working hard. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I don't kill myself like I used to. I don't rush in here at 8:30 every morning. Not that I don't do it some days when I'm busy, whatever. But I still work harder than the majority of the people. And if you work hard and you apply yourself and you do what you were told to do, and you're told to do by people that learned it from somebody else and someone else. If you do all those things, you will be successful. But you're not going to be successful if you're sitting around with the peanut gallery complaining all the time, because that's all I ever see. Everywhere, every office, every different decade, they sit around and complain about how lousy everything is, and you got 2 or 3 people in the office making $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year every year.
Right.
So work hard, send out your sold cards, get on the phone and make phone calls, get in the office early, and stop complaining. I guarantee you your income's going to go up.
Awesome.
And I've told tons of people that.
So you mentioned a couple people. You mentioned Howard Britton. You mentioned Joe and Jim Floor. Do you have any other mentors, or are there any trainers or speakers that have really, besides those that you mentioned, that have really impacted your career in a positive way over the years that you'd recommend somebody listen to? Or
I do think you should listen to different. I don't know who's popular right now. I mean, to be honest with you, I've been doing this so long. My brain's kind of burnt a little bit with all this stuff. So when I get free time anymore now, I'm not listening to CDs of anybody. But
right.
The first 5, 6, 7 years, I was always listening to Howard Britton. I used to go to a lot of the Coldwell+Banker events and hang out with all the big guys and stuff like that. And I would, and I looked at my screen this morning. Somebody that I used to hang out with at the Coldwell+Banker events just this morning sent me a referral email. I got to get back to him. So
nice.
So that's I got a lot you hang out with the big dogs, you act like them. You hang out with the little guys, you act like the little guys. So that's kind of really. But this, Howard Britton, I don't know. He's deceased, I believe. So I don't know if you can still find his material. But
Yeah, I'll look
I
it up
thought he
and
was,
see.
excellent. But mainly it was the guys in the office that trained me. I really truly say I went to the right place at the right time and got guys that were real salesmen. And these guys could have sold anything, and they were real salesmen. And they taught me all the basics, and we had meetings all the time, and I went to them, and I learned all the basics real quick, and then I applied them, and that's really my success. I can't really say I listen to anybody, any particular person or so. Now today, when I leave the office now, I don't really want to listen to anybody.
Understood. What about mentors? Do you have anybody that's kind of mentored you through the years?
Just my first couple managers. Jim Mendito was a definite great influence on me. He had 40 years in the business. Anything and everything that ever could happen to him. And like I said, hanging out with Joe and Jim Flora, these guys were real estate people. Like Frank Mancuso. It would have been nice to be around him when I was younger. It would have been someone similar, but hanging with these guys, and it definitely makes a difference. I watch a lot of people get their real estate license, and they run off to, I don't want to mention any names, but, team leaders with this person. I mean, you got to be kidding me. There was a bunch of people sitting around there, and, no one's really giving a care about you. I went to somewhere where there was an actual person that would drag me into his office on a regular basis and spend an hour, a couple times a week and teaching me. So you got to go to the right place, and you can't let even though my head got big quick, but you still got to be humble and not worry about running to, I want to go to RE/MAX, I'm a RE/MAX agent. Listen, all the good agents that I know don't work for those type of places. They're working for, Fox and Roach or Coldwell+Banker, and you just got to, just learn the basics and apply them. That's really what you got to do. Don't try to jump ahead. Then they burn out. Don't go out and lease a $70,000 car the first year you're in the business. I was kind of frugal. I first got in real estate. My first car was just a Chevy.
Right.
Everybody, you got to get a better car. I was like, I'm too cheap. Then eventually, I got a SUV. Just don't get crazy.
Right.
I see a lot of people get in the business, spend a lot of money, fancy cars. They buy a big house, and before you know it, the car's going, the house is going. They hit a slow period. And it didn't work out. So you got to be, just got to try to be smart. That's all. Just common sense smart. That's all. You don't need a whole lot.
Sure. And it sounds like your mentors also maybe kept you accountable.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was always in their office. Always in their office. I mean, fortunately for me, I had somebody in the building with me. And I would say, I'd go in and say, yeah, I got a problem. Here's the problem. And I'd be spitting out words faster than I am now. Here's a problem. Blah, 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 blah. What should I do? Here's what you can do.
So you just mentioned something that we kind of talk about all the time with the new agents. What do you think makes you different from other agents? You said, you put the work in, you're in the office. Is that something you think contributed to your success, just being there physically and learning from those guys? I mean, you see our offices now.
Well, I believe you're not going to learn anything sitting home, especially if you're new. So even if you're not busy, at least if you come to the office, sometimes the phone rings, hey, anybody want this lead? Or at least something's happening. But a lot of people I see, my own office here, you can walk around and maybe find, we got 50, 60 people that work out of here, and you'll find 10 people in the office on a work day. So for me, it was coming to the office, going in and making my calls. That's really what you got to do. If you got to come in and say to yourself, all right, I got to do something today to commit, to generate some type of business. If you have nothing going on and you start picking that phone up, I don't care who you call, an old friend, an expired, for sale by owner, call somebody. And that's what most people don't. I mean, I did the things that most people don't want to do. And the other thing I did when I got into business, I really didn't have any money. I was kind of broke. I had a couple $1,000s in the bank. I just had a credit card, and my wife said, "You're crazy." I just kept putting everything on the credit card. I figured, we're already broke. What the hell's the difference? This doesn't work out. We're not going to be in any different positions than we are already. And I just put everything on the credit card. And,
I think it worked out.
It worked out. It worked out real well. I mean, it is. I mean, sometimes I look back and it's like, wow, how'd this all happen? Right. Unfortunately, it just flies by so quick, though. Sometimes, it's just the years just kept flying. I think somebody's weeks, a normal person's weeks, like a month for me. Everything's, what did you do this month? What did you do this month? And you're running all day long. I did learn after maybe 7 years, I started to try not to work weekends that much. So if I had a good buyer, like my buyers were always my sellers. So if someone could only go out on a Saturday or Sunday, yes, I did take them out on Saturday or Sunday. But I rarely made listing appointments for Saturday or Sundays. If they told me they were busy at work, I'd say, well, how about 6 in the morning or 10 at night? I always rather work long weeks, so I was able to start to chill out on the weekends. But I can remember I took my wife on vacation one time to a Caribbean island, and I think it was like 1999, and I literally just collapsed on the beach for 10 days. I couldn't even get up. I was so burnt out and exhausted. So that's kind of how it was like. But I did learn to keep the weekends for myself.
Okay.
And not kill myself.
Good.
I showed houses this Saturday, so it wasn't too bad.
Right. So what does the future look like for you? I know you've got some new goals, some different goals. Do you mind sharing those with us and kind of telling us what your plan is?
Well, 1992, I took a trip to the Florida Keys, fell in love with them, and I told my wife we'd be down there by the time I'm 52. So I lied, I bullshitted her again, and now I'm 59. So, but I kind of got rid of a lot of my investment properties around here, and I bought a bunch of stuff down in the Florida Keys, and I'm going to eventually relocate. Just not exactly when. I'm going to relocate, get my Florida license, and not kill myself. But I am going to. That's my future, though. When I'm going to do it, I don't know. When I'm going to pull the trigger, but that's what I've been planning. But I've been planning that for years. But it's getting closer. You know. I don't kill myself. I'm still hustling every day, but I just don't kill myself.
Hey, 160 sides is pretty darn good. So most people would say that that's nothing to sneeze at. All right, so I want to open it up for questions. We've got about 15 or so minutes left. So if anybody has any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, and I will just ask Curt them. Okay. So question, Curt, how and where do you market your listings currently, and do you use postcards there as well?
I mean, sometimes the company we use, the assistant out here that sends out just listeds, but pretty much the internet's. I mean, there's really nothing public anymore to put in the newspapers. It's kind of a waste of money. So it's just all internet stuff. That's pretty much all it is today. And then again, I'm a big believer to sale sign, and if it's priced right, it's going to sell quick anyway. So.
Do you still use the paper at all?
No.
No? Okay. So just your postcards. Who do you use for postcards? Do you know?
Chris gets them on the internet from my son, and then somebody here stamps them for me. I know we could probably, but we just never moved on to that part.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? All right, here's one. How many people do you have currently on your team? And how many people do you have currently on your team? And I guess they're asking, what was the highest number that you ever had?
I've never had that many people on my team. The years I was knocking out 300 and 400 sales, I might have had, 3 or 4 agents. I mean, believe it or not, that's all I had. I mean,
okay.
And I've never had that many. I mean, you get a lot of people that come and go, and some keep their license here, so they might show up, as a team member. But right now I have maybe like 5 guys that come in the office every day that are on my team.
Okay. What would you say your team, what do they tackle? Like, how many sides does your team maybe tackle in a year?
You mean each individual, how many sales do they do? Well, you like to get, one of my fellows there for a long time was doing like 40, 50 sales a year, so he did phenomenal. But I mean, if they could do, a lot of them, especially the newer ones, if they're doing, 15 sales, 20 sales, that's probably 20 for ones that are decent. They're putting like 20, 25 sales together. Okay. A lot of sign calls, and then the longer they do it, they get their own business. And some of these folks don't even have to be on my team anymore, but we just kind of all work together, and it's nice. So.
Okay.
But it pretty much really started off with all the listings that I was carrying in inventory. the phone would ring all day long, and it still does that to a certain degree. But back in the heyday, that phone was just ringing all day long with buyers, and just take here and keep handing them out. I mean, it's still that way. Then you catch a lot of them don't even call the buyers back, so you got to stay on top of your leads.
Now, do you have standards for your team members, like they have to hit certain production goals, or they have to, how do you handle that stuff?
Well, with the new guys, I kind of try to push them, and then the guys that have been around for a while, yeah, we have goals for them. But again, they're independent contractors. I mean, I can't get on their case all the time because it would be nonstop if I,
Okay.
So I mean, they're pretty much on. I'm not micromanaging their life or their career, even though I've done that with quite a few over the years. But the ones that lasted with me the longest, I taught them a lot. A couple of them went out and opened their own Remax offices and stuff like that. So I mean, I could, I'm not going to mention names, but I could tell you some people that call me on a regular basis and thank me for teaching them, and they still call me when they have problems. I mean, I got a lot of these guys that work for me that they're doing their own thing somewhere else, and when they run into a problem or a scenario, they still call me, hey, Curt, can you help me out? So,
yeah, I'm thinking you've launched a lot of, just since I've known you, you've launched a lot of careers. People that have been on your team that have kind of spun off and either started their own company or whatever. So that's got to be something that's very proud of. You're very proud of, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. So, I mean, I'm always, like I said, I'm always willing to share everything. I'll share whatever my knowledge is and help them out with any problems they have.
Yeah.
Some of them are, some of them won't ask you because they're, a lot of agents don't want to be told nothing. They think they know it all. They're the ones that struggle the most. But the ones that come and ask you stuff, it works out to their advantage. And it's a nice feeling that when you help someone's career.
Yeah. Cool. Do you do open houses? You probably not now. Did you ever?
No.
Never ever.
Listen, if I was a new agent or if I was working a certain neighborhood and I just wanted to cultivate that neighborhood and I wanted to do an open house there every Sunday, that would work. You could get buyers coming in, and if you're going to get a listing, you can call that buyer up before you even put the property on the market and the whole thing. That could work that way. But for me to go sit in someone's house on a Sunday afternoon, it's just not happening. So I always tell clients when they ask me about open houses, if you want to do an open house, we'll do it. I said, I won't do it. I'll have one of my assistants do it. But in my career, not counting new construction, in my career, maybe sold 2 or 3 houses in 20-some years doing open houses. I just think it's a big waste of time. But if they want it, we'll do it, just not me.
Okay.
I would pay somebody to do it rather than myself.
Okay, so here's a question kind of on the flip side. What should a sales agent, be looking for if they want to join a team? What do you think they should look for in a team leader?
Yeah, I think you broke up there. It sounded like what
Let me ask it again.
Well, yeah.
So I don't know if everybody heard me. Let me just ask it again in case I was broken up for everybody. What should sales agents be looking for if they want to join a team? What should they look for in a team leader?
That's a really good question because a lot of it makes no sense whatsoever. Okay, you need someone that's busy. I mean, to work on a team, you want someone that's busy. In other words, it's an old stupid saying: you want something done, give it to a busy person. If you're going to go work on a team with somebody that's pretty clueless themselves. And I see that now. You do have a lot of teams, and I see people joining the team here or there, or different companies, and I'm like, this is such a wasted time. But so you need someone that's busy, a little obnoxious, but making money. That's who you want to go work with. You don't want to go work with somebody that's doing 15 to 25 or 30 sales a year. I mean, that's what are you going to learn from them? Mm-hmm. So I see that. I see that a lot.
Okay, great.
So, again, summing up real quick, just hook up with somebody who knows what they're doing and is busy.
Okay.
And you can't take everybody.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You can't take everybody for a team, too. Some people, I try them out and it doesn't work. I got to tell them, look, your 1 or 2 deals are killing me,
So what makes, let's take that question from another angle. What makes a good team member in your eyes? You've had a lot. What makes a good team member?
Yeah, I've seen it. The ones with real big egos don't seem to work out because a lot of times they're a little more combative and so on. Just somebody that's wants this structured office. They want to have the support, and and they're easygoing. That's pretty much, I can see pretty much the ones with the real strong personality and all that, they got to go. It doesn't work. So somebody wants to listen. It just wants to make some money and wants to work together. That's I could sometimes they come in and I interview them right away. I'm thinking I'm not even interested.
Okay,
They don't
interesting.
shut the hell
Let's see. They're asking what kind of CRM system do you use? Do you use any kind of database manager, contact database manager? And you've never
No,
used
that's
anything
probably,
like that?
if I had to do it all over again, that's probably, to be honest with you, that's probably the one thing that I wasn't good at.
Okay.
I should have just hired someone to put all that stuff on the system, and I do everything kind of like old school. So that's probably one of my biggest mistakes. But
Okay.
I was too busy and whatever, and it's too late now. I'm not going to worry about it. But I would recommend someone. I would recommend someone else do that. That is one thing I always regretted. I was a little more organized with all past leads, whatever. But I am good at my sphere of influence. Anybody I meet, anybody I do business with, they do hear from me on a regular basis.
Okay. And what, postcards or otherwise?
I send out the communique. Sounds funny. Personal marketing company's been sending out a communique from me from day one.
Okay.
And I was told by the company, get 100 names, mail them out, and then the list keeps growing and growing. And I tweak it. But they get a personal marketing. They get all different things, mailed to them throughout the year. Vinyl calendars at the end of the year.
Right.
And I always tell people one year I got the calendar out early. Might have been early November, and I made like 90 grand in January and February. In
Wow.
13. I was just buying just because that calendar went out early and the phone started ringing.
Huh.
So just the basics though. I'm not crazy. I'm not emailing them 100 things, and you can start emailing somebody all the time. I don't even look at it anymore. So a nice something in the mail, they open up, they look at it.
Okay.
It sounds
And you're
silly.
using the personal marketing company for that?
The personal marketing sends out, to
Yeah. Okay. So you must have some database in there.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, we have a whole list and so on. Yeah, but it could be better.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think I got through every question that I had. If you have any more questions, please go ahead and type them in the chat. I don't see any more. Let me see. So, okay, I have a couple more coming in. So let's go back to one thing you and I talked about in the very beginning, I think before everybody was on. You've done some stuff with your association. You've gotten involved a little bit with your association. Worth your time, not worth your time? What's your take on that? You served as your president for the Greater Philadelphia Association of Realtors. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, it's great for the resume. I mean, it looks real nice, and I'm glad I did it. But I mean, it's tough to be involved with the board to the extent where they want you to be involved, because I really don't have the time to go down to get involved with all the meetings and so on. Now, I am still a director for the Greater Philadelphia Board of Realtors. I've probably been a director for like 10 plus 12 years. I lost track, and I was the president in 10. I'm glad I got it done, but it does cost you money.
Yeah.
Does it increase your business? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I'm getting, some referrals from it here and there, but I don't think that's the reason why I was, they kept calling me, and that everybody knew, and they want to get the Northeast involved. So I did my duty.
Sure.
I got to give something back. I did it, but it looks nice on the book, and then when I go and meet people and they find out I was past president, I mean, it's a nice thing to tell them. But did it make me any money? No, it cost you money.
Okay.
Looks good.
Looks good, right? And you're giving back, so that's good. Do you buy leads?
No.
Never bought leads?
Well, I was getting calls every day. I still do. You want to buy this? You want to buy this? It sounds good. So I've tried a lot of different things over the years. At the end of the month or the end of the year, you look at all your credit card statements. You're like, wow, look at all the money I spent. So you got to be real careful. Everybody's got a great scenario for you to do, and you can't be all over the place like spilt milk. So I mean, I'm a big believer in like Realtor.com, so you could do some stuff with top.realtor.com.
Okay.
Zillow. But you gotta be careful because you could be all over the place, and
Okay.
just really you should find someone to Google your name, get your name out there. Companies should be interviewing people, writing stories about them, so they can push it. So when someone calls, or whatever. But I do get a lot of business off the internet, but not off anything in particular. Someone I don't even know how it happens. I'll put in like top realtors in Northeast or whatever, or top realtors in the area. So I do get a lot of calls that way,
Okay.
which is kind of funny. But I don't really do anything at this point.
Now, I know in years past you spent a large chunk of money with Realtor.com. Do you still do anything extra with them? I know the company kind of pays the base on that. Do you do anything extra with them now?
A little bit, just a little bit, just a couple zip codes, and I get put one at a time. One of my assistants, handle the leads that come in, but just a little bit, nothing like I used to.
Okay.
Now I'm spending maybe like $500 a month now, where before it was 4 or 5 times that.
Oh, okay. Okay. So at one time you were buying them en masse, it sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. What time? Okay, this person wants to know, and you can answer this for in your heyday, if you want to. What time do you wake up in the morning, and what time do you go to sleep? And I'm going to add something to that. Exercise, diet, all that stuff. Do you think it factors in?
Oh, absolutely. So, all right. So I was born with a heart problem as a child. I had a couple operations. I'm pretty healthy right now, but I'm healthy because I watch what I eat. I don't drink. Occasionally have a glass of wine. I'm not a drinker. I don't smoke cigarettes. I try to stay away from all the bad foods. I don't eat red meat. And over the course of my life, I do exercise. I get in lulls where I get lazy or I don't do it. I got to push myself again. But overall, I do exercise. I'm a big believer in walking, so I always walk. I either go to the gym, do the treadmill, or I walk around the neighborhood. But I'm not perfect at it. Don't misunderstand me. But overall, I do exercise.
Okay.
All right, what time do I get up? I'm an early riser. I like to get up at like 7. I think that's early compared to what I see around here. And I'm usually nodding out 9, 10 o'clock every night.
Okay.
Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I'll watch a movie or half a movie and fall asleep if I can't sleep, but that's rare. So usually I'm in bed at 10, 11 at the latest. 11's late. I like to stay up later, but I can't. But I'm always up early. I like when the sun's shining. My wife says she never seen me depressed. I never got up sad. I wake up every morning. I'm happy and get rolling.
That's good.
And I eat blueberries every morning.
Blueberries every morning. That's the key. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Feel free to type them in now. Otherwise, I'm going to say thank you so much to Curt for doing this. You're awesome, and I know I've known you for a lot of years, but I'm still in awe of you and everything that you do and everything that you've accomplished. So thank you for doing this. I do have one more question that just came in. Is there any specific time of day or time of the week or month or year that you take for yourself?
Do I do for myself?
Right. Any sort of maybe a certain time of the day that you say, all right, 5 to 6 is my hour. I'm not going to do any real estate, or Saturday's my day. I'm not going to. No.
Yeah, I pretty much, not really. I mean, I go on vacation. At least in my heyday, I went on 5 vacations a year. Now I'm down to like 3 vacations a year.
Okay.
But I pretty much answer my phone. I mean, if someone starts calling me early in the morning, I just laugh at them. I'm not answering the phone if it's too early. And I won't answer it if it's too late. But I pretty much answer my phone in the heart of the day. No, I don't. I don't do that. If I'm driving home and someone calls, or I'll make a lot of my calls when I'm in the car. Not really.
Okay.
You just can't let it beat you to death. You do have to spend some time relaxing.
Sure.
And you can't I noticed a lot of people there's a problem or something. I think probably the best part of my career, to be honest, we didn't speak any of this, but when there's a problem or something, I don't dwell on it or get all freaked out, whatever. Sometimes I'll just push it to the side. I don't even want to hear about it. I'm not going to have it ruin my whole day or ruin everything else I got to do. Or I see somebody has a problem, their day's shot. They can't handle nothing else. So that stuff I just pretty much push out of the way. It's rarely I don't go to sleep and get a good night's sleep worrying about this stuff.
Okay.
It's there the next day. You gotta have thick skin.
So you're rolling with
you gotta have thick skin.
Thick skin. Good.
I'm
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta have thick skin. You can't be wimpy, and you got to put your foot down. And the only probably earlier in my career, I kind of kept trying to make things work. If I had a difficult client, I kept trying to make it work. Today, I'll pretty much fire somebody if they're just annoying or just don't stop or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of people out there. They just think the whole world's just about them. They don't leave me alone.
Sure.
So it depends on what it is. Sometimes I won't take the listing too. I can see it. If they're going to be overpriced or they're a pain in the butt, you can see they're going to be a pain in the ass. I won't get involved. But no, I just I just kind of stop. But when I go on my vacations, I'll answer the phone in the morning. Then I'll go out and hang out and have a good time.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
All right, I have one more question here, and then I will let you go. Is there something specific that you do on a listing appointment to get people to list with you? What do you think it is? What's your magic sauce?
Again, everybody's got to tweak and first of all, you got to be somewhat prepared. You got to be very comfortable doing what you're doing. But I mean, I would like we're doing this webinar. I love somebody to watch me on a listing. I think it's pretty good. I mean, I leave a lot of times laughing and stuff, but I always tell everybody it's like a sitcom. You're watching as the world turns. You're just performing. So you got to go in and perform and get gain your confidence and get the listing. But no, I love it when they tell me there's 2 or 3 people out on the listing and I get it, which is not all the time, but I get more of them than not. I get most of them, and but no, I just have a real good listing presentation. I'm not a computer guy. I don't pull the computer out. I try not to bore them. They mostly just see that I'm take control kind of person.
Okay.
And they want me to handle the listing. They tell me that. They always say, Curt, you looked at my circuit breaker box. You made some recommendations. You seem like a take control kind of guy, and that's why we're picking you. I get that probably more than anything.
Okay. How long is your listing appointment normally?
It used to be like an hour and a half, which is nice to go through all this silly stuff. Now I probably spend about a half hour walking through the property with them. So when I walk in the front door, they always try to get me to sit down. As most people know, I want to take a walk through the property, build a little rapport, and then I spend about 20 minutes with them after we sit down. So a half hour walking around, maybe 20 minutes. And then sometimes there's always different scenarios where there might be a special case here, but that's about it. The more you talk, you give yourself a headache. You talk too much, you got to get out. And I talk a lot. You got to get out.
Right.
You can't stay. You try to get it signed. You always try to get the listing signed, but
right.
Sometimes you know it's not going to happen, so you can't beat them up over it. But you do try to get it signed.
So you always bring your contracts on the first appointment, no matter what.
Oh yeah, always bring my list. I have it all filled out, like
right.
they're going to sign.
Ready to go. Right.
Ready to go, and I can see the husband looking at the wife. Wife, what do you think, hon? And once they say, what do you think, hon? Now I think I got the listing, so I pull it right out, and I get them to sign the easy one first. Mm-hmm. You always have them sign the consumer notice. Here, this is just a consumer notice here. This is not from me. It's from Harrisburg. I just want to remind you I work for you. Just, by you initial on this and sign this,
Sure.
Once they sign it, then you can throw your listing agreement out there real quick.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I do it. It doesn't always work. Sometimes they're like, oh, you're a little pushy, aren't you? I was like, oh, not really.
Right.
You have to be a little pushy.
Right. But that's good. Hey, you're doing something right. You're doing a lot of things right. All right. Well, I'm going to end it here. Thank you so much, Curt, for doing this. I do really appreciate it. It was awesome, and we do have it recorded. So.
I just want to say before I go, it's been a great career. Coldwell+Banker is a great company, and a lot of nice, wonderful people. A lot of people helped me, and I have no regrets. It's been awesome. So thanks for asking me to do this.
Oh, sure. Thank you for doing it. All right. So that is our webinar. Thanks so much, guys. I will post the recording in about a day or so once I get it back, and that's it. Thanks so much.
Okay. Take care. See you, everybody.
All right.